Will Tesla be able to deliver 500,000 vehicles in 2020 and meet their guidance? I'm Jonathan Stewart, and welcome to Cleanerwatt. On October 2nd, Tesla announced their Q3 2020 vehicle production and delivery numbers, and they were very impressive. They were able to produce just over 145,000 vehicles, and they delivered over 139,000 vehicles in Q3 of 2020. To put that in perspective, Tesla delivered more vehicles in Q3 of 2020 than they did for the entire year of 2017. Tesla is definitely growing, and as you can see here on this chart, Tesla's year-over-year increase since 2015 has been very impressive. But how many vehicles will Tesla deliver in 2020, and will they be able to meet the 500,000 vehicle delivery number that they've guided towards? Well, if you add up the first 3 quarters of 2020, they are currently at around 318,000 deliveries so far this year. If you compare this to the first 3 quarters of 2019, they're up by around 25%. However, in order to get to a 500,000 delivery number, that would mean they need to deliver in Q4 of 2020 just over 181,000 vehicles. This would represent a 36% increase over what they delivered in 2019. Now, delivering 181,000 vehicles in a single quarter, of course, would be very impressive and would be quite a feat for Tesla. But Tesla has proven over the last several years that they can have substantial increases like this quarter over quarter and year over year. And a 36% increase year over year would not be that crazy. The good news is, however, Tesla does have some inventory on hand, and they don't necessarily have to produce 181,000 vehicles to be able to deliver that many. If you add up the number of vehicles that Tesla has produced for the first 3 quarters of 2020 and you subtract that from the vehicles that they have delivered, they should have an inventory of around 11,000 vehicles on hand. Because of this inventory, they don't necessarily need to produce 181,000 vehicles in Q4 of 2020, but instead they can produce around 170,000 vehicles and still have enough inventory to meet guidance. But 170,000 vehicles produced in a single quarter would of course be very impressive as well, and that would represent an increase of over 25,000 vehicles in the quarter from Q3 of 2020. In order to determine if this 170,000 plus vehicles produced in Q4 is possible, let's look at Tesla's annual production rate capabilities with what they have installed at factories, and let's also look at the actual production rate of what we've seen in recent history. In Q3 of 2020, there were 92 days, and Tesla produced over 145,000 vehicles. If you divide the 145,000 by the 92 days in Q3 of 2020, you get a production per day of around 1,576 vehicles. Q4 of 2020 also has 92 days, and as we determined, Tesla will need to produce over 170,000 vehicles to have enough inventory to meet guidance. If you divide the 170,000 vehicles Tesla needs to produce by the 92 days in Q4 of 2020, this means they need to average around 1,848 vehicles produced per day. This would be an increase of around 272 per day over what they did in Q3 of 2020. But does Tesla have enough installed capacity at their factories to be able to produce this many per day? Well, in the Q2 2020 investors presentation, Tesla had this chart showing the installed annual capacity for their current factories. As they showed on the chart, they have an installed annual capacity in total right now of around 690,000 vehicles. However, they had a note at the bottom of the chart that said Model 3, Model Y installed capacity in Fremont will extend to 500,000 in 2020. So if you add that extra installed capacity and change that 400,000 for the Fremont Model Y and Model 3 capacity, that gives them a total installed capacity, if everything is running at full capacity, of around 790,000 vehicles per year. 790,000 vehicles per year gives you an average of around 2,164 produced per day. So we can use this number as a total max production capability of all Tesla's factories. If you multiply this 2,164 per day number by the 92 days in Q4 of 2020, this means that at full capacity, they could potentially produce just under 200,000 vehicles in Q4 of 2020. So yes, producing 170,000 vehicles in Q4 of 2020 is a possibility, and this is something Tesla could definitely do. This is not going to be easy, and it's definitely not a sure thing, but Tesla does have the capabilities. Now the question is though, can Tesla actually sell this many vehicles, and does Tesla have enough demand for this many vehicles in a single quarter? Well, first of all, as Tesla has proven over the years, there is no demand problem for their vehicles. They pretty much sell every vehicle that they can produce. Anytime there's a little bit of an inventory, it usually has to do with vehicles in shipping or the timing of quarters. Also in the automotive industry, the last quarter of the year, Q4, is always the strongest when it comes to deliveries and sales. On top of that, as Inside EVs pointed out, Tesla will start exporting their made in China Model 3s to European buyers and also to countries like Australia and New Zealand. According to this article, quote, the production of these export vehicles, these made in China Model 3 units, will start in the fourth quarter of 2020. Also, the demand in China has recently gone up for the Tesla Model 3 because they recently dropped the prices for the Standard Range Plus and also the long range rear-wheel drive variants of the Model 3 when they introduced the lithium iron phosphate batteries from CATL. Tesla already reports that Tesla stores in China report overwhelming new Model 3 orders after this price reduction. So on top of Tesla delivering made in China Model 3s to Europe, which does free up more capacity for Fremont produced vehicles to be sold in the United States, which of course have a shorter transport time, Elon Musk also mentioned on Twitter that they are going to be introducing the rear-wheel drive single motor version of the Model Y sometime late this year. In July, he tweeted out that the long-range single motor Y would be coming out in a few months. And since we haven't seen this vehicle yet, it's almost certain that we'll see it in Q4 of 2020. Tesla already has a number of people that have been waiting for this long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y, and a number of people that placed deposits on this car and have been holding off until this vehicle was introduced. Tesla already has a huge pent-up demand for this vehicle, and they'll be able to sell any long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y they can produce. So in conclusion, although it will not be easy, I definitely see a clear path for Tesla to meet their guidance and deliver 500,000 vehicles in the total year of 2020. This will be very impressive and will continue to prove that Tesla's business model is working and that there is no demand problem for Tesla's vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something as well. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing. And if you do subscribe, if you click the bell icon, you'll be notified when new videos are published. Also, if you did like the video, please consider clicking the like button because that helps other people find the video as well. And I wanted to take a moment here at the end of the video to thank my Patreon supporters who support me every month and help make these videos possible. If you'd like to find out more about the Patreon community that I've set up, I'll put a link in the description below. Thank you so much.